All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all again for being here. My name is Bitzel Krotova, and I am the Director of Institutional Assessment here at Mer State. Welcome to the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, first ever institutional assessment learning series. The aim of this learning series is actually to share peer-led best practices in outcomes assessment. Like just what Melanie said, assessment nerds are here right now. Our intention is really to offer practical insights to somehow inspire fellow assessment coordinators, faculty, and also staff, of course. So this is the second presentation in the first learning series, and it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter today, Dr. Melony Shemberger. Dr. Shemberger is a professor of journalism and mass communication and the assessment coordinator for all JMC programs. She will share some insights on what a course fact sheet is and how this easily digestible one-page document can enhance assessment practices. Dr. Schemberger, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Krotova. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you being here. This is a topic that I came across more than a year ago, and I'll tell you more about that. And the document that you are seeing on the right side of the title screen is what is put together.
I had a Zoom meeting. Oh, yeah.
And hi, Paul. And also, so what I'm going to be doing is talking you through a lot of this, in fact. It is difficult to read on the screen. I can probably understand that, and I'm happy to send to you the actual document, but we'll walk through it. So I don't want you to feel like, oh gosh, what is that? We will walk through it so that way you can determine what essential elements will be necessary for your course fact sheet. So we'll go ahead and get started. And what I'm hoping that you'll be able to do after today's session is that once we go through the course fact sheet, you will see, I think all of you know the importance definitely of the learning outcomes, but how do those connect to our major assignments? So that way we are trying to determine how well they align with the program, institutional, and/or accreditation standards. That then you'll use the course fact sheet to improve your assessment practices, or at least to maybe, if not improve, sometimes I think this organizes my assessment practices a lot better. And that's this way we can see how assessments are mapped to various objectives at the course level and definitely at other levels. And then that you'll go ahead and be able to implement then that course fact sheet as a way to even enhance communication with your students. Did you know you could even share this with your students? I do. And definitely with your colleagues, because that is really what the purpose of these fact sheets are. But nevertheless, you are communicating what the goals are so that everyone knows what's expected. And it helps to ensure that consistency in the expectations, as well as definitely grading and assessment reporting. So let's begin first with what is a fact sheet. And really, it is a one-pager, as Dr. Krotova noted in the introduction. It is a one-pager, and it shows the most relevant information. It's almost taking a 30,000-foot view of a course, but it's really relevant information about a subject in the least amount of space possible. So this is rather broad. And notice I didn't say about a course, about a subject. So as I mentioned, more than a year ago, I came across the concept of a course fact sheet. When I was reviewing an article, I serve as managing editor of the Journal of Faculty Development. And in that manuscript, which is forthcoming, it's a very strong manuscript. It was really good information, by the way. But the author talked about the use of a course fact sheet, but within the context of faculty development. However, the author also noted other uses of how these types of fact sheets used in curriculum planning of any kind of curriculum, how effective those were for everyone to see really what's on the table. So when I saw that, I thought, okay, and the author did make mention of how it is used in courses, but of course that was not the purpose of this manuscript. And that piqued my interest. a lot. So of course I went to the literature and was able to find some things. And really the course fact sheet is still kind of relatively fresh. So I was able to find some pieces of scholarship really within the last decade. It's still not extensive, but it's enough out there to where really I think you can use a fact sheet for almost anything, but definitely in the context of our assessment planning and reporting, I find this to be helpful at the course level, and then how does it stack up throughout the rest of the curriculum. So it is also known as an information sheet. So if you don't like the way the fact sheet might sound, then you can call it an information sheet. And really, it does nothing more than just show how the program learning outcomes. And this is really good if you're planning a new program. This is just good if you're planning a course. So however you want that course to fit, what does that puzzle piece look like in the puzzle? And there's value to doing that in all that curriculum mapping. So some other uses where fact sheets have been seen. You can use it on the student assignment level. So perhaps there is an assignment that has several different components. Maybe you could even use it to break down a research paper rather than just the traditional scaffolding. So maybe that could help. And then thus you can really share that sheet more so with your learners. And that way the transparency and communication is there. As I mentioned, in faculty development, as was noted in the manuscript that I reviewed, but also professional development of coaches, even educating students on complex topics. So I was able to find these pieces regarding family sciences. So I thought, wow, okay. So there is great utility in using a fact sheet, but in this case, a course fact sheet. So a little bit more detail as to what this fact sheet really looks like. As you saw on the title slide that I had earlier, it is a one-pager, but it has a visual representation to it. There's a lot of text to it, but it is somewhat set with some various important visual elements. So this does not require you to have to be a graphic designer, but I do think there is some sort of visual appeal to this. And it helps everyone to see how information will flow. So an information about one course, how does that tie into perhaps the various learning outcomes at the program level? How does this course even fit with the next course, perhaps? So, either way, it's part of that mapping experience. And it is high level course information that you find to be relevant, that is going to be important in the curriculum. So when I walk through mine in a moment, you'll see more about what I'm talking about with that. Again, it's a visualization, and it's also a good description of what your learner is going to do. What's that journey look like now? What's it going to look like then, and maybe perhaps in the next course? What's it going to look like after they finish the course? What's it going to look like after they finish Murray State University? So, it can really have some great opportunities to just tell that story. And I think that's kind of what this does in a different way. So let's go over the anatomy of a fact sheet. And before we do really get to that, I do want to give you some context about this course in which I started using the fact sheet. It is JMC 168, Media Literacy and Society. We are a 3-credit-hour course, and we offer multiple sections each semester. We do this for 2 reasons. One, it is a required course in the majors of journalism and mass communication. That includes journalism, television production, advertising, and public relations. So that's one of the starter courses. However, we are proud to be a part of the university studies curriculum, in which we are an elective course. So therefore, I get students from outside the JMC department. And I love having them there, and they're wanting to know about media literacy and how the information might help them. So therefore, we've got 2 tracks here. So how do we make sure we are anchoring JMC 168 in a way that's going to be helpful to all of these students. This is where the fact sheet will be helpful. We offer this course in person as well as online. So when we started, and this was back in, I think, I'm trying to really remember. I remember during COVID. So it was during the pandemic, because the sequence heads in the department, so of the four majors that I explained, those are the programs that I serve to work with them on assessment. So I organize a lot of the assessment reports and the plans, but I walk them through some ideas as to how we can try to do things, et cetera, with assessment. But we were wanting to be a part. We really felt like this course, when we were reimagining a lot of our curriculum going on around 2021, because I think we implemented the new university studies curriculum, I want to say in 2022 or 2023. Time is really starting to get a little fuzzy here. But we knew we wanted to be a part of this. So when the call was made for anybody who was any department wanting to put forth an application for a course, then we wanted to be a part of that. And we felt like media literacy, that's something that every learner at Murray State University could benefit from. So we took a backward design approach, and that means we started with our learning outcomes. So on the left, or excuse me, on the right side of this course fact sheet, first of all, let me start at the very top. You see the mission statement. I was reminded of how wonderful our mission statement is, and it really is, because it places the emphasis on teaching and learning. It speaks to the spirit of what we are here at Murray State University. So therefore, it is at the very top. There might come a later design when I try to make that a little bit larger, but right now it starts at the top. Really, that's what it is. Everything needs to speak to our mission, and that's why it's at the very top. And then, of course, you see the course information right here. I put here how this course is seen. So I noted to you, it's taken by students who are majors in our program, as well as those who are taken as university studies elective. So that way, when we get ready to really start planning out some additional parts of the curriculum, we still have to make sure, okay, where are all the students at this point? So we've got to, it's almost a part of a Sudoku puzzle, if you will, trying to make all of this fit. So we've got all of those high level pieces there. And then, because we are university studies, we've got to make sure every student is meeting that, not just ones who are taking it as an elective. Really, all of our students are meeting that. So that's the big high level there. And then going down to program level, which our program level outcomes stem from our accreditation outcomes. The Journalism and Mass Communication Department is accredited by the Accrediting Council for the Education of Journalism and Mass Communication. That's a long name. We call ourselves ACE-JMC. So we derive the PLOs from those values and competencies. Because I was really not able to fully put all 10 of our values and competencies of ACE-JMC, I do provide a link to that in case any of our learners, or anyone for that matter, wants to go to that website. The same thing with university studies. I include the web link to that as well, even though you can see the SLO right there. So then we have our program learning outcomes, and then the course level outcomes. So these course level outcomes, there are 6 in JMC 168. And to help our learners meet that, then we have on the left side, the assessments. So we have 6 common assessments that must be administered in every section of JMC 168. I'm not going to go through each one of these assessments because that really doesn't matter, other than each one does point to the course level outcome, which also then points to, if you kind of follow the arrows, then it points to the program level outcome, so the PLO, which all of those also point to the SLO. And then, of course, if I were to do another arrow, which I probably will, because these sheets, I've already revised this a couple of times, And that's the beauty of it. It should be fluid. And so maybe make another big arrow right to the mission statement. And that helps to center really the purpose of all of this. So in this sheet, I focused on the learning outcomes at those levels, the common assessments, and then the alignment between the arrow or between the levels based on how the flow of the arrows went. Now, some people might put the course description. That's okay if you want to do that. Perhaps maybe the title of the course doesn't lend itself to what should be perceived as the real purpose. And if that's the case, perhaps that's a time for refreshing and modifying it. And that could be helpful too. So there are other things, but those are the really big things, as noted in the literature, of what a fact sheet in a curriculum would contain, those learning outcomes particularly, and then how those really connect through various assessments. Now, let me also say in JMC 168, there are other assessments based on what the instructor wants to do. So in addition to these 6 common assessments in my section, I have students do infographic assignments, and then they have a research paper that they do as well. So those are the big buckets of assessment groups that we have. But other instructors might do tests, that's fine. But these common assessments, though, help us and help our learners to see how they are meeting these particular outcomes at those levels. So I noted how you can, I think I noted earlier that when I do share these course fact sheets with my learners, so that's one way. Definitely with your assessment plan. In my department, I have a separate Canvas course that is created for just JMC assessment. That's where we post all of our plans, all of our reports, as well as assessment tips. So even those assessment tips that come weekly from the assessment office, I will take that and then insert it as an announcement in the course, so it goes out to all the instructors. And then, of course, for JMC 168, I include this course fact sheet. And I'm hoping that we can build a reserve of course fact sheets, so that way when it comes time to some curriculum mapping and well, not mapping, but planning, because we're still trying to figure out other tweaks. This is where those fact sheets really are helpful. Okay, where do we need to tweak? How can we see that? And I think seeing it visually really, really helps. So for assessment planning, curriculum evaluation, so if you're looking to do an overhaul of your curriculum, these can be really helpful. Feel free to share it with your learners. I did on day 1. So in addition to the syllabus and the content schedule, I share with them the fact sheet and we go over it. I want them to know, even though some of that language might seem a little rather vague to them, when you break it down then into those module or unit objectives or the goals for the day, they can start to see the string of connection. And I think that's just helpful. It resides on the syllabus page of my Canvas course. So they can always go back to it. So if they ever lose their paper version of the syllabus, that's fine. You go to Canvas and get it. They lose their paper version of the fact sheet, that's fine. You go to the syllabus page and you can see it there. So you can share it with the course syllabus. Why not post it on the bulletin board of your department? Let the students see it in the hallways. I have to admit, I have a little vision, and it would just take time. But once we get a lot of these course fact sheets designed and ready to go, why not put them on a wall? Let's have learners being able to walk through to see their curriculum. Why not do that? I think that would be a wonderful way to first decorate the walls, but second of all, show that we're really serious in making sure our learners can achieve skills and knowledge that we want to be durable. Okay, we want them to be able to take these skills and knowledge and transfer them in other ways, whether it's to the next course or post Murray State University when they cross that stage. You can also use it as part of your documentation when it comes to accrediting reporting. So when you are up for reaccreditation, or if you just have to send reports in, I know some agencies vary. This could be something to indicate and share as a possible way of, what are y'all doing to keep your eye on the curriculum? So you can really use that there. Why not share it on the department website as well? I wouldn't just post it, but I would give it definitely some context, but really, why not? So I think there are some other good ways. These are some of the ways that I came up with. But like I said, I would love to post it in a high visible area. And I really, and you could actually enlarge it, make big posters, so here, this is me really talking through some ideas possibly. And there are probably other ways that you can imagine as well, but they're just great pieces to have for conversations. Those are the references. I figured this might be brief, but I really wanted this to be an opportunity also for conversation. Definitely taking any questions you might have, et cetera. But these are the references that I came across in the literature regarding fact sheets and how else they have been used. I'm going to leave this fact sheet up so that way we can see it as perhaps you have any comments or questions, and we can use this as the visual reference. And then also thank you to our assessment office for posting that in the chat. So you do have a copy. That's great. Thank you so much. But I do want to open this to some opportunities for discussion.
Hi, Melanie. Appreciate your work on this. So you have a fact sheet for every single course in...
Not yet.
Okay,
Not
but that's
yet.
the goal?
That's the goal.
Okay.
That is the goal. The reason why 168, again, because it's really that course, the entry course for all the majors, and then because of the connection to university studies.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's the most important course, but it's the one course that affects more students at this moment. So we wanted to make sure we're keeping in alignment. So my goal now is to see, okay, let me pick on first, for instance, we have a new reimagined program launching in the fall, provided it gets Board of Regents approval still, but it will be strategic communication. And so these fact sheets are going to be important because we are combining basically the two majors of public relations and advertising, keeping them on separate then tracks. But we have to make sure, are we still aligning everything to the top program goals with that? So therefore, we've got to figure out some ways to make sure that we're still fitting. So, but that is the goal. This takes time. And the way
That was gonna be my next question. How long did it take you?
Yeah, so when it came time for this course facts for just this one course, maybe a good couple of weeks, because I wanted to make sure, is it telling the story we want it to tell, as far as what that learner is going to do. But the other thing is that what you could do, and I don't know if your department, we would have sometimes retreats. So like once a year, we try to have a good retreat where it's just good walking through, talking through some things. And Post-it notes are great. I'm going to be honest. It's a great way to start. But we want to make sure that we're working toward the idea that we have in journalism and public relations is we've only got a limited amount of time to tell a story because of people's attention spans. It's kind of the same thing here with this course fact sheet. So one pager is enough. What really is so important for us to share, and it needs to have a nice uniformed look. I don't even know if this is the look we'll continue to have it, but it needs to have that branding appeal to it. It really needs to be something. And I think the more time you spend on this, you're just having those conversations, you're having ideas, all of these things. For instance, just even starting at the course level outcomes, we revised a lot of that knowing too, that we were going to knowing that at the time, the accrediting agency, ACE-JMC, was revising its values and standards. So we had to then revise some of our course level outcomes. And then knowing too that we were going to apply to university studies. So we had to rethink, a lot of those. We did a lot of those conversations via Zoom. But now that we have it on paper as a one-pager, now we're starting to rethink some things. So that's kind of the thing. We're even rethinking maybe some of those assessments a little bit. So, it's just something to always have out in the front.
Yeah, I think so. When you're talking about this, where my head went to is we have in the part of the teacher preparation sequencing, we have 4 core classes, 2 of which are also dual enrollment classes. And so we got a number of instructors teaching these 2 courses that can vary greatly. And one of the things, as I came on as the assistant dean, one of the things I want to do is I want to ensure that the courses that are being taught as dual credit classes in the high schools by these other instructors who aren't necessarily faculty at Murray State, we're all teaching to similar standards, so it gets more uniformed. And I think something like this would definitely help us in that process. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that was, yes, because again, like I said, even with JMC 168, you have different instructors, but we have to make sure that these 6 assessments are being administered. You still have your academic freedom as far as how you get your students to do, how you teach that content. But when it comes down to the assessment, even the rubrics have to be the same. So, I mean, everything is the same. And the other part of this that I did, especially with JMC 168, so again, going back to when we were still pandemic mode for the most part, and mostly online, the course, I designed the entire course online. So there's always, and we use that course, I use it as the blueprint course. So that way, any changes made to the assessment, they can be pushed out. I don't just change it, but what I'm saying is that in making those changes, then everybody has that,
Right.
the instructors do. So yeah, again, whatever, if the instructors want to do other assessments, that's great, but where's the anchor?
Right.
That's
Yeah. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I do. Melanie, can you talk a little bit about how you can also utilize a course fact sheet beyond university studies, like assessment, in terms of like institutional wide assessment? Like, how can you incorporate whatever you have done here and your faculty have done here in terms of, submitting annual assessment plans and reports?
Oh yeah. So, I think we've been so focused on making sure with 168 that we were meeting what university studies needs, because we had never done that before. We've always just really tailored to our own programs. But what this can also do is allowing us in every program. So let me back up. When it comes time to around July, so I'm trying to wrap up the Governor Scholars Program, but at the same time, I've got assessment in the back of my mind because we've got what coming up in mid-September. We have our plans due. So I'm already thinking, how do we need to look at the program learning outcomes for that year? So of course, as you know, Dr. Kratova, we vary those each year. We have a cycle. And so these course sheets, these course fact sheets can then be tailored for the PLOs for that year. And this though it would depend on the courses. So there'd be a quicker turnaround with that. And that can be challenging. I've not worked through that entire process yet. But what I do, however, is making sure that whatever the PLOs are for that cycle or for that year, then we are going back to the last time that course was measured on those outcomes. Let's look at the assessment then. What was it then? And are you still using that assessment? Maybe you are still using it. Sometimes we have found that some of the assessments are tossed because maybe it didn't work out the way they thought. So then we are taking those assessments, and if we're going to keep any of those, let's go ahead and put those in the course fact sheet for that assessment year. And then how are those tying in? And I think that's where we can determine even more visually, is this still the right assessment? And I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I completely agree. Actually, when I spoke to you about this, I was really jumping for joy when I saw this alignment because this course fact sheet is, you can easily utilize it in many different ways and many different levels. So yeah, this could be also tied in, like, you don't necessarily need to have all these measures to be used as part of your assessment plan. But at least if you have a course that are like a core required course that are always being used with lots of sections, that will be a good and ideal like example for you to use as part of your submission in terms of assessment plans and reports.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other thing I wanted to mention, I designed this in Canva. So like I said earlier, you don't have to be a graphic designer. Not at all. Canva to me is pretty easy to use. I think it just needs to have some direction, some visual direction. So and that, to me, just using like the icons of the assessments there, that's an indicator. The arrows are indicators. So that to me, I think is just the important, as well as using the various headers, like you see the program learning trajectory. It's starting with the top university studies outcome and then program level outcome. So, I mean, there is direction there. I'm kind of working on one right now because I am doing, I've taught this course as a special topics, but now that it is fully into this new curriculum starting in the fall with strategic communication, teaching a course, strategic communication in media. And this is I'm kind of designing my own little course fact sheet. Not really happy with it right now, but that's part of the process. And I think it does help you work through just the processing of your ideas. And I'm not saying I work visually well. That's not what I think this is about. But if I can't articulate it and also show the direction, then maybe it's not the right assessment, or maybe just not the right ideas. I don't know. But this way, once it's done, then I can share this with my other strategic communication colleagues and see, okay, is there something else I'm missing? And again, it just becomes part of that, just part of those discussions that I think are sometimes missing when we're trying to do assessment and curriculum planning.
Yeah, great. Do we have any other questions?
I don't think I have a question, but I do have, first of all, I think this is really wonderful. And I have long said, Melanie, you might have heard me say, I think it's a real shame that our students never see program outcomes, because I think that is what they could be best empowered by to help them be competitive to apply for jobs. They need the words, just simply put, they need the words in the program level outcomes to match to a job ad to say that, yes, I have done that because I did this in my academic program or in specific courses. You know that the CPE has the Kentucky graduate profile, their 10 essential skills.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to it in the chat for the others in the meeting who might not have seen this work. But if you were to add anything, not that it needs any addition, but how I do think at a statewide level, these icons and these words and the graduate profile phraseology will start to really become a statewide initiative. I get the sense that it's ramping up, but if there were things to add, I think this could also tie into exactly what you have going here. It's in here, but not in the exact same words and their little graphic icons. So just as I'm not even sure I want to call it a suggestion, just these two things are aligned in a particular way. So I wanted to share that. Nice job.
Thank you. And yes, that's a good idea. So you could even take those essential or the graduate profile. And if, again, when I get ready to redesign this, actually, you could do it two ways. Here's what first came to my mind when you mentioned that. Because there are 10 of them, I mean, that's 10. So why not this is a good time for departments, well, for programs, to really go through their course inventory. If there is a course, now, I mean, I'm all about just learning for the sake of learning. I really am. But we are in a new age of higher education. But I would go through every course and really determine, does that course help a learner to meet one or more of those 10 skills? If so, let's have I don't know, I'm just really getting to my visual now. So if I were to do a nice big poster of the 10 essential skills, and I've got a lot of wall space in Wilson Hall. So get that on the wall, and let's get each one of the courses that help a learner along that trajectory. Let's show them, you take this course, we're going to help you get there to one of those skills. And I think that's really neat. And if there's a course that doesn't at all, I'm just saying, maybe it doesn't need to be on the books. I think there's so much power in alignment. I start every class with so, you see the course level outcomes on that. We break it down, and I tell my students, this is not the last time you're going to be seeing this course level outcome. Because what I do at the beginning of every class, we have, I call them learning goals for the day, because really that's what they are. But these, when we get finished with this material, you'll be able to discuss the historical development of radio. We talked about radio yesterday. And not only that, but you'll be able to explain the cultural and diverse role that radio plays in a democratic society. And then we go through the content. But the thing is, then I have those learning goals for the day. They're mapped to one of those CLOs. So they see how every time they're in that classroom, they are working toward building their proficiency in the CLO. And all of my assignments, they know why they're doing it. In addition to those common assessments, that's great. They know why they're doing it because they see it on that course fact sheet. But the other assignments, the infographic assessments, those kind of serve as my exams. I don't really give traditional exams. I just use those. But that's more of the compilation. Once we finish that unit, so for instance, radio was part of the electronic media unit, in which we also focused on sound recordings, the film industry, and then radio today. And so those make up electronic media. So we're going to finish with radio tomorrow in class. So that means infographic time. That's kind of like exam time. Well, but the thing is, all of those learning outcomes that we did each day for that particular content, it all adds into one or more of those course level outcomes. Wow, that also builds into the program level outcome. And then, wow, that builds even more into, they now have a better understanding of the importance of participating in a well-informed and diverse and global society. So, I think the more that we continue to articulate that language, they'll buy in and they'll get it. And I think if we don't help them with that, that's when they start seeing work as busy work. And we don't want that. That gives a bad rap for higher ed. So I think that that graduate profile that can be, I can fit that in somehow into this course fact sheet. Oh, perhaps we can create a different fact sheet with all the PLOs. Definitely then the courses. That would be even great too. You know, so there are numbers of ways you could do this.
Yes, definitely. I agree. I really like this topic, and I'm so excited to introduce you about this course topic. I mean, course fact sheet. It really resonates whatever we're doing here in institutional assessment in terms of, you know, the measures, the alignment with from course to program to the institutional goals. All right, if we don't have any other questions, thank you so much, Dr. Shemberger, for your insightful presentation. Once again, thank you all for your time today. We hope you find this session very beneficial, and we look forward to seeing you after spring break. We have the next event. I think that will be on March 25th. That's Tuesday in the morning. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.